All right, welcome back to the College Football Job at 5. We're pre-recording this on a Tuesday afternoon, and it will be aired on Thursday at the same time, 5 o'clock. And we're brought to you today by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, where every Thursday is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's around the corner. Get with Lewis and the gang, and they'll set you up for a great, throughout the holidays, great time there at the restaurant. We are coming to you live. Well, we're coming to you normally live, but today we're coming to you recorded from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville, and we're going to get to it. Got Will here, got Kim on the board. Chaz is on out of town. He's not going to be able to join us today, so it's just going to be the two of us. And we're going to actually go back and talk about last week and the previous Saturday and this past Saturday. So we're going to be talking about 2 different weeks here. And let me bring up my notes for that previous week, Bill.
It was a good one.
Yeah, do you have anything you need to talk about with as far as week? I guess it was week 6, right? Let's talk about
week 6. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about week 6 first.
All right.
And I'll hand it off to you.
All right. Where to start? We'll make it easy so it can be a quick one to talk about. Michigan playing Minnesota. Man, they look good. I mean, I think they've been the most consistent team all years. In terms of, we look great on offense, great on defense. We're going to put up close to 40, keep our opponent less than 10. I mean, this is the first time all season that an opponent had double digits. But again, offense, defense, special teams. I'm pretty sure this game, or maybe I'm mixing it up with week 7. I think I saw they played 72 of 73 players, or 73 of 74,
yes.
Something like that.
The only one didn't play was a punter.
Their long snapper did not get us play. So that's a pretty dominant team. They look good against the Minnesota team that was just overmatched at every level. Again, just great by everybody. JJ, Blake Corum, that defense, they look great.
You know, one thing about that game is J.J. McCarthy only had 219 yards passing with a touchdown, and Blake Corum led the team in rushing with 69 yards. They scored 52 points. Tells me their defense is playing out of this world.
Well, I mean that's been the story for J.J. McCarthy all year. He doesn't have to put up many passing yards or great stats, and I guess that's a testament to him. He doesn't play outside of himself, because if he was pressing and trying to do too much, then I think they'd be a lot less successful. Because he's not a guy who is stat hungry or anything. And I mean, if you look at it, that game, you're right. The defense themselves did have 2 pick sixes, so that's when your defense can outscore your opponent by themselves, you're going to win those games.
You're doing pretty good. Speaking of that defense, they're still they've played 7 games, Will, and they're still yet to have the defense is still yet to give up a first and goal. There's been no first and goal.
0 goal to go situation.
0 goal to go situation. That is insane. And I mean, you could talk about their schedule, and I'll just go over it quick. But they're starting to get into the Big Ten play, obviously. But I mean, East Carolina, UNLV. Now UNLV is not that bad. We for a group of 6, they're not that bad.
I mean, when you're talking about a national contender, the UNLV is nobody.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But like I've said before, I'm never going to penalize someone for blowing out bad teams. If you're a good team,
that's what you're supposed to do.
And you put away bad teams, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's right.
But still, that stat of I don't care if you're playing all middle schoolers. If you never let them get in a goal to go situation, that's impressive to me.
And you played, they beat Bowling Green really well, and Bowling Green beat Georgia Tech, who beat Miami. So
there we go. That transitive property of football.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. But then you get into the Big Ten schedule. Rutgers is not doing too bad this year.
They have a good defense.
Yeah,
exactly. I got to give Rutgers the flowers. Yeah. They played well this year.
They have beat Rutgers. They beat Nebraska. They beat Nebraska bad at Lincoln.
Well, Nebraska's not.
I know, but they're still a Big Ten team. They're still a big conference opponent.
Fair enough.
And then again, Minnesota. And of course, this week they beat Indiana. They've only allowed 1 score to each opponent. 6 out of the first 7 opponents has only scored 1 time.
Yep.
A field goal. Let's say 1 time. Bowling Green has 6 points. I'm assuming that could be two field goals, but
I'm sure it likely was 2 field goals.
So, but that Minnesota, that Michigan defense is
they're the real deal.
Yeah, they are. As far as where we're at right now in the season, they are the real deal. What else you got?
Next game I want to touch on just a little bit. Alabama A&M. I predicted A&M to win that game, and that was because
I
my
did
lack
too.
of Jalen Milroe,
Yeah.
or my lack of faith in Jalen Milroe. But he delivered. Man, I tell you, he looked really good, especially because that, if I'm not mistaken, they ended with like 20 something rushing yards.
Alabama did. You're right. They did.
So
they
that
had 23,
A&M
23 rushing yards.
That A&M defense showed up like I thought they would. It's just Jalen Monroe played well, and Jermaine Burton had the game of his life.
Absolutely.
And, when those two things come together, it's going to be hard to win. Just tough luck for A&M there. I still think they look like a good team. Even in spite of jumping ahead what happened this week against Tennessee, I still think they look like a good team. They're obviously not going to be as good in the division as I thought they would this year, but I think that's a good win for Alabama, especially on the road. Like we talked about, if I got to give Georgia credit for winning at Jordan Hare, I'm definitely giving Alabama credit for winning at Kyle Field. Road games in the SEC are tough to win.
Absolutely. What planet are we living on when Alabama plays Texas A&M and there's 90 yards rushing in the 60-minute game?
I mean, that's not too shocking considering, again, how good both of those rush defenses are.
Well, but you look at the strength of both of those teams over the years.
Yep.
I know that since Lane Kiffin came in to Alabama, they started spreading the ball out around, throw the ball around a bit, but still, Alabama's bread and butter, especially going this year, was going to be the rush, and to be held to 23 yards rushing, and then the Alabama defense holding Jimbo Fisher's offense to 67 yards rushing, 90 yards rushing combined between the two teams. Some of that may be also due to sacks, because sacks count.
It absolutely is, for sure.
Yeah. So, but still, I mean, it's you look at Jaden Milroe was sacked 6 times, and then Max Johnson was sacked 5 times. So that has a little bit to do with
That's just defensive fronts getting after it in that game. That's all that was.
Absolutely. Yeah, those two defenses are strong.
Especially their front seven.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead. What else you got?
UNC gave it to Syracuse. That was really surprising to me. For UNC to really have a really dominant game. I think that was really important for them, especially considering how well they played this past weekend as well. Florida State flirted with Virginia Tech for a little bit and then finally pulled away. Ohio State was in a tough one with Maryland, and then they finally pulled away too. But again, I think that 20-point win is kind of misleading. It was a much closer game than that.
Yeah, it is because we were talking about that game, and I think Maryland kind of goofed up towards the end of the half. They had a chance to score at the end of the half, and they didn't. And 10-10 at halftime, and really, I thought the first half Maryland without a couple big plays, explosive plays on Ohio State. Other than that, I think Maryland really outplayed them in the first half, but then the second half, wow, Ohio State just came out and thumped them in the second half.
For sure. And 2 of our teams, your Bruins beat up on my Cougars. UCLA beat Washington State. And Washington State this past weekend, man, I don't even want to talk about it. They look like they're slipping. Maybe they were just a flash in the pan. I don't know. But that's a great UCLA defense.
Yeah.
And Dante Moore, man, there's no quitting that kid.
No.
He can make a mistake and come right back out. He's still going to keep firing.
I'm excited to see what he's going to be like in 2 years.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be dangerous, especially in that Chip Kelly offense. He's going to look good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trying to get out.
Cam Ward finally threw his first interception that game.
Yeah, he also didn't play well last weekend either. LSU, Missouri, that was a great game. I mean, once again proving LSU has no defense, but Mizzou had a chance to win that game late. They just threw a late pick 6 that made it a double-digit loss. But that was a good showing by Mizzou, but I guess just if you're going to beat LSU, you're going to have to outscore them because they're not going to stop anybody.
No. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that Missouri was going to beat them.
I picked them to win, yeah. I
thought
they would.
Even during the game.
Oh, yeah.
During the game, I mean, in the third quarter, I think, because LSU had 22 points in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, it's 25. It was 32 to 27 going into the fourth quarter, and but even before that, halftime, I thought they were outplaying them, and man, LSU just came back in the fourth quarter and did really good.
I think I'm pretty sure I saw the article today. ESPN's mid-season All-Americans, they had Luther Burden first team. I think that's well warranted.
Absolutely.
Last year he was a little quiet, but again he was a freshman. He was splitting catches with Dominic Lovett.
Yep.
But this year he said, "I'm that dude."
And
He's playing well. Man, he's good. Let's see.
You can't. I'm waiting for you to say it.
I'm
waiting for you to say it.
We're getting to it.
Okay.
Gotta touch on the precursor to what happened to USC this past weekend. Going to a triple overtime game against Arizona and barely winning. That looks a little better considering what they just did to Washington State. But again, I think that was dominoes falling for what happened to them against Notre Dame. Let's see. We'll go ahead and jump into the Georgia-Kentucky game. That is, first of all, told you so. That was Georgia.
That was a don't doubt me.
That was a Georgia playing mad game. From the very first snap, they decided they were going to win that football game, and I think that game was over at the coin toss. I do.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Carson Beck wanted to send a message. Started 11 for 11 in that first quarter, 2 touchdowns,
insane,
over 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like I said, I heard all week about how their offense couldn't run the ball, their defense couldn't stop the run, and then,
I'm still hearing that, which is ridiculous.
It's fine. It's fine. Like I said, keep on disrespecting them. I know Brock Bowers went down. That's kind of jumping ahead to last week. I know Brock Bowers went down, but go ahead. Keep on doubting Georgia. Keep on giving them fuel to the fire.
Exactly.
And then when Brock Bowers comes back in the SEC championship game and they're still undefeated, we'll talk then. One more note about games from that week, and then we'll get to the Red River. Mario Cristobal. Kneel the football. Kneel the football.
Man,
I'm pleading with you.
I don't understand.
Kneel
that.
the football.
I don't understand.
It's Georgia Tech. This team just lost to Bowling Green, and they come to your stadium. They come to Hard Rock and beat you because you can't kneel the football.
And it's bad because they had less than 40 seconds left to go in the game, clock running, and Tech had no timeouts. Well, I don't care if you snap it and run backwards for 10 yards and fall down. The game is over. And here's the thing. It's not the first time this happened with Mario Cristobal.
No.
2018. Happened again, against Stanford. Same thing. They went into overtime, and they could have knelt on the ball. They didn't. They fumbled the ball, and then they go to overtime and lose the ball game in overtime. So,
and here's the thing about that too. So I saw a couple articles. I think I showed you the title of one of them. Mario Cristobal came out and owned it, so that's a bad decision by me. The OC came out and owned it, so that's a bad decision by me. That doesn't look good for either one of you, because either it's the OC's fault and you didn't stop it, or it's your fault and the OC went along with it too. You both look stupid.
I'm about to go back and watch the last minute of that game and see if Cristobal just took his headset off.
I think he had it off. Besides the fact of that DC doesn't look good either. You gave up 70 yards to Tech in 2 plays. You tell those guys one thing: one gets behind you.
Nothing is behind you.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, all right. You just made Haynes King look like a Heisman candidate. Anyhow,
Funny.
if you want to keep your job, Mario Cristobal, don't do that again. And then to follow it up by losing to UNC the way you did, not very good.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Red River.
Here we go.
I feel like we say this every week. Could have been the game of the year. That was a fantastic game.
Yeah. It's funny is 2 of the best games all season involved Texas.
I would agree with that.
2 of the best games all year involved Texas.
I would agree with that. Alabama
one is
fans
Alabama.
probably wouldn't agree with you on that, but
Well, I mean, you agree or not agree, that was, I can tell you right now, I hate that 2017 national championship game and with Alabama and Georgia, but that was a classic. In 25 years from now, people can be watching that. I'm probably not, but people can be watching that going, wow, what a classic game.
absolutely.
I still got a hole in my heart from that game. I know you do too.
For sure. So I told you before the game, I'm not taking credit for almost picking Oklahoma at all. I picked Texas, and I was wrong, and I'll own that gladly. I'm not going to even come on here and joke about, Texas is back, baby, because they played well. They looked good. They looked like a top 10 team in that game. Oklahoma just was better.
Yeah.
They were just better. I mean, and when Quinn Ewers himself is responsible for 3 turnovers, I mean, that's not going to get it done. The only points they had in the first quarter was that blocked punt, which was a great play by them. But I hate to say, if you take that away, but I mean, if you do take that away, it's a double-digit win by Oklahoma.
Right.
Could be at least.
So,
like I said, I still got to give credit to everybody who played. Quinn Ewers, when he wasn't turning the ball over, looked really good. Jonathan Brooks still played a fantastic game. But the best player on that field on that day was Dylan Gabriel. I mean, he just
No
looked
doubt.
sensational.
Without a doubt.
When they needed to play, he made a play. That very last play they scored on, you could see the pocket collapsing around him. He was getting swallowed up. All you saw was a little arm emerge with a football from a pack of people with the pocket collapse on him, and he threw a dot where it needed to go. Again, I think this is one of those games where I'm building up Oklahoma more than I'm tearing down Texas, because again, this was kind of reminiscent of, kind of jump ahead again, Oregon Washington. You know, both the teams looked good, and they both looked good even though one team lost. That's about it. You know, just Oklahoma played great. Dylan Gabriel looked good, and Texas, they're still alive for the conference and the playoff.
Absolutely, yeah. In addition to the 285 yards passing, Dylan Gabriel had 113 yards rushing
On 14 carries. That's stupid.
8.1 yards a carry. 44 yard was a long one there. Think that, you know, I'm just going to say this. I said there's no way you can erase 49-point deficit from last year to this year. That was, and I look back on that and go, wow, that was probably a pretty dumb comment to make, because, you know, you got the team this is not the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, this is a different team. Both these teams are different teams. I do stick by what I said when I said that Texas is better this year than they were last year. I mean, especially on the offensive line and defensive line. I mean, you know, on the line of scrimmage on both sides, I think they're better. I just underestimated Brent Venables' ability to change that defense from last year to this year in the way that he changed it. And I think that was the biggest.
Amazing.
It really was. I think the offense is obviously a lot better too, you know, year two and with his guys. I think they had some pieces around them that they, you know, obviously they needed. And they got it done. Hey, to their credit. And, you know, I was wrong on that. So, it is what it is, but it was a great game, one of the best games of the year, and I think that's just part one. The sequel will be first Saturday in December, I think.
Very likely.
Yep.
I don't anticipate Oklahoma losing a game for the rest of the season. They have a pretty soft schedule, but again, there's no telling. I mean, they could lose another game, but. Like you said, I anticipate a rematch in December, but we'll see. And I do believe that rematch could potentially have playoff implications. A lot of stuff has to shake out to figure that out, but I'm really excited. This is a great weekend of college football. I don't even think we got to Notre Dame getting beat down by Louisville, but I think that was a product of kind of what I hinted towards. Again, pick Notre Dame. I'm aware of that, but I kind of said, hey, the product or the recipe for an upset is Notre Dame looks worn down, tired, beat down, emotionally drained from those games against Ohio State and Duke, and that's what it looked like. They looked like, you know, they just couldn't get it done.
Depth is the issue there, I think.
But they turned it around real quickly. So I feel like we covered that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't take too long getting bogged down.
Yep. And I want to remind you guys that this is a Thursday college football Job at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkersville, and we are live from the David Venables studios. Just saw Mr. Venables when we walked in. What a great guy. If you need any kind of legal help in this area, go see Mr. David Venables. He is an attorney at law. So let's get into to this week. We'll do a reflection on recap. Well, I'll say this past week, we'll reflect on some of the games, and I'll start off the first one. I think probably the game of the week, one of the best games of the year. I think you'll agree on this. And we're just going to start off with a good one. The best game of the weekend, I think, was Oregon and Washington.
Absolutely. Go Huskies, baby.
Michael Penix Jr., been a fan of his since he was at Indiana. 4 touchdowns, 302 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Had a game-winning pass inside of 2 minutes left to go in the game. I think that he has elevated himself, maybe in my eyes, maybe being the front runner for the Heisman Trophy this year.
I've had him number one all season.
Outstanding. What a great game! I think Dan Lanning. You know, people are second guessing his decisions. You know what? He's a young coach. He's going to learn a lot from where he's at right now. Kirby learned a lot from his first couple years of coaching. I think Dan Lanning is a phenomenal coach, and I have no problem with those fourth downs, going for those fourth downs, being aggressive. I mean, you know, you've got to be aggressive to win football games and win championships. You know, you're not going to win championships by just being, conservative like the guy over there at Texas A&M is. So anyway, great game. 36-33 was the final. They missed a field goal there at the end of the game when time ran out to go to overtime. But man, what a game!
Well, see, here's the thing to me. People are criticizing those fourth down attempts by Dan Lanning because of the way the game ended.
Right. If he makes them, then they're making them
exactly. We're looking at outcome based judgment of that
reflection. Yeah.
However, even in spite of those 2 fourth downs they did not convert, they had a chance to kick a field goal to tie it. I mean, that's a 43-yarder. That's not a super long field goal to kick. So if you want to criticize Dan Lanning for something, don't let it be for going for those fourth downs, because I mean that's just telling a team, "Hey, I believe in you."
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean he is an aggressive coach, aggressive play caller. He has that brand. Nobody had an issue with what he said before the Colorado game because they won. If they had lost that game, he'd have never heard the end of that.
Exactly.
Again, I think he's a good coach. I still think Oregon's a top 10 team, like I kind of said about the Oklahoma and Texas thing. When you lose this game on the road by 3, and it's because you missed a field goal at the buzzer, I'm not going to penalize you too much. Like I said, great game by both players. Again, my preseason Heisman pick is looking better and better each week. Michael Penix is a fantastic player. Rome Odunze, my guy, he's Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is the best wide receiver in college football, but Odunze's got something to say about that. He looks fantastic. The man gets open and he catches the football. That's what you got to do.
120 yards and on 8 receptions.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Looked great. Another point of emphasis, I don't see anybody having an issue with Dan Lanning going for that 2-point conversion, the very first touchdown. That's an aggressive play call.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get that one, I'm sure he doesn't hear the end of it. Again, if you're okay with the aggressive play style, you have to criticize all of it or none of it. You can't be halfway.
Can't pick and choose. Yeah. Can't pick and choose.
But again, great game. Again, like I said, we say it about every week, but I think that was one of we'll call it a top 5 game of the year. We'll have to obviously assess them all at the end of it, but we'll see at the very end. But I think it's top 5 though.
Kim, what you got?
Yeah, my question was, he went for the 2-point conversion on the first touchdown, and which was kind of weird to me. But when he got to the second touchdown, he didn't do the same, which was even more weird. If you're going to go for it all, go for it all.
Well, that could be a fact. They saw something in, they maybe had a goal line. The coaches work on 2-point plays. I mean, from the 3 yards in, and they may have saw something on film that they could expose from Washington. You do it once, that's great. If you start trying to do it every time, then the defense is going to make adjustments. So that could be.
I think a big benefit to them converting that was Washington didn't expect it and they weren't ready.
Right.
They were out of sorts. They weren't lined up correctly. They didn't know what was coming.
Surprise
and
benefit,
and they couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
But that second time, you know for sure that the coach had them ready. He said, "Hey, if they go for 2, stop them."
Yeah.
A stat that they pointed out during the game that ended up being the difference in the game was at the end of the first half when Oregon was going for it on 4th and goal. When they got into that goal-to-go situation, every single time someone had a goal-to-go situation against Washington this year, they scored. Every single time.
Oh.
Funnily enough, you can kind of say Washington's defense won the game for them.
Yeah,
because they got two huge 4th down stops.
Right.
I won't say the defense won the game. Michael Penix won the game. But their defense, they're still not good by any means. But, I mean, they made plays when they had to, and that's all Washington needs to do.
So the point spread in that game was 3. Washington was favored by 3, and they won by 3. And the over and under was 66.5, and it was 69. It's amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's insane. So, I thought it was a great game. I thought Michael Penix really set himself up for a push to Heisman.
I think he's got a huge lead right now.
And on the other side, Bo Nix, I mean, he just keeps doing Bo Nix stuff. Those numbers up there. He's 33 for 44, 337 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Not a bad game.
Not a bad game at all. I mean, really, it's not. He only had 1 sack. It's hard to sack that guy. He's so mobile.
Well, and Washington's, they haven't had good sack numbers all year.
But thought it was a great game.
Absolutely.
And, so, anyway. I want to remind you guys that you can listen to us live at the XL Sports Network. That's xlsportsnetwork.net. And you can also catch us on the YouTube channel, XL Sports Network. Hit the comment on there, hit the like button, subscribe, and put some comments in there, and give us some critiques.
Let me hear about Colorado. I want to hear about Colorado.
Yeah, that's.
Tell me about how they're going to win the Natty or the conference championship this year.
Yep.
They might go to a bowl.
Yeah.
They might.
Let's see.
Well, let's keep it going. We don't have to talk
Let's
about
keep
it.
it going.
We don't have to talk about it very much. But how do you blow a 29-point lead to Stanford at home?
Oh man, I didn't even have this on my notes, but I went to bed that night. That was a Thursday night game. Went to bed that night.
Friday
29-0. Was it Friday night? Okay, it's Friday night game. My bad. Friday night game. I went to bed Friday night. It was 29-0 halftime. And I got up Saturday morning and I was like, man, let me see what happened. How much did Shakir Sanders throw for? And, did Travis Hunter give him a good, And I was like, what? This can't be right. That's, I mean, you talk about adjustments. You can make adjustments at halftime. But, Deion said it, complacency. He said, I saw it going into half. We did make some plays right there towards the end of the half we should have made. I saw the complacency and I hated it. So when complacency creeps into your program, man, it's a cancer. It's a cancer. And,
Complacency can't set in on a team that hasn't done anything. That's when it's dangerous.
Well, a lot of it has to do with, I think, can have something to do with quick success like they've had.
And again, I wouldn't even necessarily call it success. I mean, they stunned everybody beating TCU.
Well, you look at where they came from, that program, and where they are now. So that is extreme success. They're 400% better than they were last year already in the season as far as the win total goes. So
as far as the win total goes, I agree with you. But I mean, they still can't run the football consistently. Their defense is as bad as it was last year. Mm-hmm. The difference in this team is Shedeur and Deion. That's it.
Yeah. And
I mean,
Travis when he's in there.
Travis when he's not getting someone catching the ball in the back of his head.
Yeah.
It's when you're starting quarterbacks posting links to his merch at halftime. That's when you know you're not going to be doing very well. Yeah. I think we've kind of established why Deion has to make everything personal. This team can't play or win as favorites. Yeah. They have to be an underdog. They have to be, oh, nobody believes in us, oh, we're being disrespected. Because the two games that they have been favorited has been the games they've looked the worst. I mean, I'm throwing that Oregon game out. I don't hold that against them. They got outmatched and beat to death by a team way better than them. But in games where they should have won and won big, they've played miserable in the two games they were favorited.
And again, you can listen to us live at the xlsportsnetwork.net. And you can also look at us on the YouTube channel, XL Sports Network. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know how we're doing. Let us know how bad we are, and so on. So, Will, USC Notre Dame.
Yep.
I don't think you lost the Heisman Trophy Saturday. I think he put himself back behind a couple players. But Caleb Williams, 199 yards passing, only one touchdown, 3 interceptions. All 3 interceptions were in the first half.
And USC, one of them went back for a touchdown.
Yeah, USC committed 5 turnovers. But the defense only gave up. I don't understand where this. The defense only gave up 251 yards total offense all day long.
Well, there's 2 ways you can look at that. You can say, hey, the defense played well. Or you can say, hey, Notre Dame had a short field every time, so they didn't have a chance to get very many yards.
There you go. That
however you want to look
at
it.
Well, in both cases, it's the offense that's at fault there. So
absolutely,
Lincoln Riley, anyway. So go ahead. I'll let you analyze this game now.
So I before the season started, when we did our little pick'em thing, I had my list of teams that I was gonna pick. And I think he can vouch for me. USC was not on that list. I at no point even considered picking them to be a conference title contender, much less a playoff and natty title contender. Not because of Caleb Williams by any means, but because of Lincoln Riley. I was not convinced that defense was fixed. It very clearly is not. And I went back and did a little research. At least once a year, he has a horrible game. at least once a year. Going back to the days at Oklahoma, and this was his horrible. Not just bad games, not just you lose. A horrible game has one once a year, and this is that. You can't lose by 4 touchdowns and think that's even anything remotely close to a good game.
Right.
In the first half, Notre Dame punted twice, scored 24 points, up 24-3 at the half. That ain't gonna win you very many games. And the second half, they played. USC played just as bad. I mean, they did not look good at all. Like I said, I think a lot of this was due to Notre Dame's defense. And USC finally played not just a defense with a pulse, not just a good defense. They played a great defense in Notre Dame. So when you go from playing defenses that aren't good at all to a great defense, and then you get shellacked like this, I do not think that bodes well for the rest of your season, especially because they have a gauntlet coming up. I said it before the season started. Again, you can vouch for me. They could start 6-0 and finish 7-5,
Yep.
And they just might, especially if they look how they looked this past weekend. They very, very easily could drop 4, if not 5, of these last games.
Funny you said that because we talked about some of the things coming in here, but we didn't talk about this. USC schedule I got pulled up right here, and I was going to get you to give me the over and under going through the rest of the season. They just lost to Notre Dame.
Yep.
They have Utah coming in. I don't know if Cam Rising's going to play or not. I'm not sure it really matters really. I don't think he's got enough time to get that knee healed up to be as effective as he could be. Cam Rising's strength is being mobile, and I don't know. Maybe he will. I don't know. He's only 10 months out of surgery, so. But they got Utah coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got to go to Cal. Then they got the 3 that I think that's going to be really tough. They got Washington at home, at Oregon, UCLA at home. So out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, what do you give me your over and under for their win total or their loss total for the year?
So this one's kind of fun. Cal all of a sudden can score points. I mean, they did it at least against Oregon State. They didn't against Utah because Utah's defense is elite. USC's defense is anything but. I'm not picking them to win that game I'm not picking Cal to win that game, I should say. I think USC probably still should and will win that game. But man, I tell you, those other 4, Utah. Okay, so Utah had their best, I think, scoring game of the season this past week. It looks like they may have exercised a few demons. I'm not going to go that high on it. I'm saying they may have, but that defense is still good. Defense still holds up.
Yep.
I think Utah has had USC's number. I mean, they beat them twice last year, and we've seen what USC looks like against a great defense. Washington does not have a great defense, but doggone it, if they can't score with them, that game might be 50-50 or 60-something points. But I think as bad as USC's defense is, Washington's defense is better. I mean, they showed it. They can get some stops when they need to. Oregon's defense is legit, and UCLA's defense is legit. If I gotta pick, I mean, I'm gonna stick with what I thought before. I'm gonna say they probably finish. I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna do it. They lose 4 of those last 5 games, like I said they would. They finish 7-5. And it's through no fault of Caleb Williams. I mean, it's just we've proven the rest of that team can't hold up if he's not Superman. I think they'll do it. I think they'll lose to Utah, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you know what? Hey, no half measures.
Yeah, that UCLA game is going to be really interesting because they went to UCLA, which is right across the street, basically. It's in the same town. I don't really think there's a whole lot of home field advantage there for either one of those teams.
The stadium might be half full.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of a coin toss there as far as that goes. But I think the best case scenario for the end of their season, an absolute best case scenario 9-3.
I agree.
Worst case scenario,
best case.
I'm not thinking they're going to go on a 6-game losing streak. Worst case scenario, I'm with you. 7-5, and I'm thinking probably more probable in the middle they're 8-4. I think they're going to probably get past Cal. Probably going to either beat Utah or UCLA. I don't think they'll beat both of them. I think they will win one of those two games.
Yeah, but right now, if you're telling me, hey, pick what they end with, I'm not picking them to beat any of those good teams ahead of them because right now they're all ranked, and that tells you how much the voters. I know the AP poll is broken and stupid, so that takes it with a grain of salt. But it tells you how much they thought of them. I mean, the past I think 3 weeks before this, they dropped in a win, and then when they lost bad, they dropped what? 8 spots, something like that.
18.
So
18.
It seems like they were just waiting for the shoe to
Waiting for
drop.
it to happen. Yeah, waiting for it to happen.
And I don't think it's done.
No,
I think it's.
They
it's
may
gonna,
They may end up outside the top 25 when the season's over.
If they finish 7-5, they definitely will.
I think 8-4 is outside the top 25.
Very likely. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially if you go on that losing streak, top teams at the very end like that.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Arizona at Washington State. I thought that was a really interesting game. Kind of touched on it just a little bit earlier. Washington State. Wazoo was, man. We didn't even. And guys, if you never heard us talk about this, we talk about our team. UCLA is not really my team. However, we have a competition where we pick, make draft picks, so to speak, and we pick teams that we think will finish in the top 25 in the AP, and we got other points associated with our competition. So, Will picked he picked Clemson, so I can't pick Clemson. I picked Michigan, so he can't pick Michigan.
I shamefully picked Clemson.
Yeah, but we have one little caveat this year where we could drop two and up to 2 teams and add up to 2 teams after the second week of the season. Nobody picked Washington State. Will's like, man, I'm going to jump on these guys. Look like a great pick. I still think it's a great pick. Really do. Will jumping in, and we're all going, wow, man, these guys jumped up to, top 15, inside the top 15.
12 at one point.
Yeah, so right outside the top 10. So I thought that was a great pick. Still think it's a great pick. I think they can go. They're still going to have a pretty good season this year. They're definitely going to go to a bowl game
For sure.
But this week kind of really surprised me, man. Arizona, I was like, wow. I thought both those Arizona teams were really, really bad. But it's not the Wildcats, man. They put it on them. They total offense was 516 total yards to 234 total yards. And if you'd have told me that one would have 516 total yards, the other would have 234, I would have thought it'd be the other way around. I would have thought that Cam Ward would have put up some numbers. But wasn't really the case.
Ever since that Oregon State game, he's been struggling.
Yeah.
And I don't think his struggles are going to stop this week when they play Oregon. So that's going to be super fun for them.
Yeah. Well,
they're playing at Oregon too. So Lord help them.
Cam Ward had 192 yards passed and 1 interception, no touchdowns, and that's he came into the game. I think he came into the game 13 touchdowns and no interceptions.
I think that was the UCLA game because I'm pretty sure he threw a pick in that UCLA game.
Okay, so maybe it was prior to that. So anyway, but yeah, one time he was 13 touchdowns and no interceptions, and he was looking like I think he was your dark horse to win the Heisman.
At one point he was, but he threw 2 picks in that UCLA game and a touchdown. So coming to this game, he was 14-2, and then now he's 14-3.
14-3, yeah. Well, still not bad.
No, it's not. I wouldn't call
it
it good, but considering the red hot start he had,
Carson Beck is number two quarterback in the SEC. That's what it is.
But he's also an undefeated team.
He's on exactly.
A
little bit more of a supporting cast. Yeah,
apples to apples.
So, I know. I understand. All right, so let's see. Let's go. We don't talk any more about that one, or no? I don't think it's all about talking.
No, not a whole lot. Just disappointed that Washington State hasn't really kept up that offensive output they had the first 4 weeks of the season. If they're going to get back on track, it's not going to happen this week. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they have a great game against Oregon. But man, coming off a game like that where you get your butt kicked by Arizona and then going to Autzen Stadium, it's going to be tough for sure.
All right, let's go to the ACC. Talk about Miami at UNC.
Let's do it.
I think that Gene Chizik defense is getting a little bit better. Although that's not really saying a whole lot. Not really saying a whole lot. Yeah, I know.
You're giving credit to that team. that just gave up 31 to a
Yeah.
team that couldn't even beat Georgia Tech. Come on.
Drake May had 4 touchdown passes. The two big players outside of Drake May in the game was Marion Hampton, 197 yards rushing, and Tez Walker. I tell you what, man, I don't know that I pull for a guy that any more than this guy, man. I think he really got screwed over by the NCAA. He missed 5 or 6 games. They said he was ineligible, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, after Mac Brown went and talked about how terrible that decision was, they reversed course. They let the guy play, and my goodness, did he capitalize! He was on fire this weekend. 3 touchdown receptions. Couple of numbers that jump out at me. Miami had 4 turnovers. UNC had none. And the real big number here is 14 penalties for UNC and
They
7
still won the game.
for Miami. They still won the game. 21 penalties in the game, and Miami still won that game. I'm sorry, UNC won that game. So break it down for us, Will.
Well, the interesting thing to me is the final margin was 10 points. The game was never that close.
Not really.
Not after halftime, at least.
Well, they scored 14 there at the end. To me, that's
yeah, no.
trash points.
After
it's trash
halftime,
points.
that game was not close because Miami was actually leading at halftime. But like I said, after then, that game wasn't close.
35-17 in the fourth quarter. So
I have not been speaking highly of Drake May lately. I think he played a great game. He still needs to show me something. I've got him on my Heisman watch list. He's not very high up on there, probably lower than most people's. Like I said, I think Michael Penix got himself a huge lead this past weekend. But again, I'm not going to be super impressed with a performance like that against a team that just lost to Georgia Tech at home. Because, he still barely completed 50% of his passes. He had less than 300 yards. He did have 4 touchdown passes, but we'll see how much of that was him and how much of that was Tez. Because, again, man, that guy, he's special.
create some separation.
And you touched on the running back Hampton, Amarian Hampton. I think he is one of the most underrated players this year because he has sneakily been a huge part of that UNC offense. Again, maybe that's just me trying to detract from Drake May. I'm not trying to be a hater, I promise. But he needs to get his flowers, and if nobody else is going to give them to him, I am. Like I said, he had almost 200 yards on the ground. On the season, he's averaging 6 yards a carry, almost 700 yards. He has 8 touchdowns. This guy needs to get some recognition because he's playing well. I'll say it. He's the reason they beat App State. He had 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging 9 yards a carry. The dude is good. He's an athlete, playmaker for sure. But still a good win for UNC, a team that is really surprising me to this point. I did not expect they'd be undefeated coming into this weekend, but they are. And again, hats off to them. They're playing well. And if Drake May has a really big game coming up soon, I'll start to give him more of that respect that I guess everybody else is.
Yep, I agree. We're going to move along to the next game, and before we do that, just remind you guys that you can listen to us live at the XLSportsNetwork.net. You can also see us on the YouTube channel, XL Sports Network. Hit that like and hit that subscribe. Leave us a comment, and hopefully one of these days we'll get a call in, man. We'll get some folks calling in the show.
That'd be
really
great.
Cool. Yep. Well, let's talk a little bit about Indiana and Michigan, and the reason why I want to talk about that is not because Michigan beat them 52-7.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Michigan had 52 unanswered points.
That is a stupid thing to hear against a Big Ten opponent.
Yeah,
That is a stupid 52 unanswered points.
52 unanswered points.
Indiana looked great for a quarter.
Yeah,
And then they just got bludgeoned to death.
it's amazing. Not only have 52 unanswered points, but J.J. McCarthy on the season is a 78% completion, has a 70% completion percentage, 1,512 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Doesn't that sound familiar? But he's on a great team. Another stat that really, man, Blake Corum's only had 1 game this year where he had 100 yards rushing. His high for the season is 101 yards on a game.
Well, a lot of that is because they're winning so big. He's
Yeah.
not in there for the whole game. I mean,
That's
he only
true.
had 13 carries and 2 of them were touchdowns against Indiana. And
Yeah.
I mean, because especially considering the fact that he got hurt last year, I'd pull him early too. Because I mean, you're going
Yeah.
to need him for
You don't need
the
him, yeah.
game. You're going to need
Right.
him for the championship, the conference championship, which I think they'll make it to. And I think they're going to make it to the playoff again. You'll need him for those games too. So
Yeah.
I don't blame him for pulling him. And like you said, got to give credit to J.J. McCarthy. I mean, man went 14 of 17, 222, and 3 touchdowns. He's just playing within the system. He's not trying to do too much. And you can't ask any more of that. I don't think he's a spectacular talent. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but he's doing what he has to do to win.
I'll tell you, I heard somebody the other day throw him in the Heisman
No.
conversation.
Sorry. No. He's not in the top 10.
I didn't say it. I'm just telling you what somebody else said.
No, he's not in the top 10.
All right. We talked a little bit about this on the way in today. Arkansas at Alabama.
Yeah.
Milroe had less than 50% passing. However, they got the job done. 24-21. Crimson Tide came out on top of that. Go ahead. Tell us what you want to
Well, as much as I was praising Jalen Milroe for winning the game against A&M, he didn't. I won't say he played bad in this game, but I distinctly remember there was a couple times where he just lobbed a ball up to a wide open receiver, and they just fell underneath it.
The guy's 10 yards behind the defense, and I mean, is it really?
Not taking credit away from him because he did have the 2 touchdown passes and 200 and almost 40 yards, and he didn't make mistakes. He looked good.
Yeah.
The only concerning thing there for me is if you're Alabama and you jump up on them 21-6 at the half, and then you don't really do anything else the rest of the game. That's what's concerning to me.
Yeah.
And especially when you needed to, like for the last almost quarter of that ball game, they were fighting to make sure they won it because what was that? Almost 11 minutes left in the game. Arkansas scored that final touchdown, made it 21-24. So it's not like they blew them out. It's not like it wasn't a close game. For almost an entire quarter, they were trying to stay alive.
Yep. All right. Next, we're going to go to Iowa or Wisconsin, where Iowa beat Wisconsin 15-6.
It's the most Iowa score I've ever heard in my entire life.
Hold on. Listen to this. So Iowa is 3-1 in the Big Ten. They're 6-1 overall. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. And in the Big Ten, the games in their conference games, they have been outscored 67-61. Yet they're still 3-1 in the Big Ten. They actually completed 2 passes this week to a wide receiver. Only 2 passes to a wide receiver completed this week. What do you think about that? Now, it's funny. It's really funny. Is their offensive coordinator, and some of you guys may know, the offensive coordinator is in his contract this year. He has to average 25 points a game, or supposedly he'll be fired. Now, there's a lot of people out there that think that what they're going to do is they're just going to say, okay, we're going to, redo this contract, and you're going to be the head coach instead of the assistant coach.
He also doesn't get paid as much if he doesn't make those scores. I think his pay goes down to like $40,000.
It should.
Performance based. I like it. Imagine that. So anyway, that was pretty bad.
Well, it's
Go ahead.
my Wisconsin Badgers. I mean, the second that Tanner Mordecai went down, they were screwed. For all their shortcomings on offense, Iowa is still a very good defense. I mean, no one's ever
Absolutely.
no one's ever questioned that. But again, I think if Tanner Mordecai doesn't go down, I think they win that football game. Now again, they may still lost, but I think they have a better shot. Because Iowa's quarterback 6 of 14 for 37 yards. How many teams are you beating when your quarterback goes 6 of 14 for 37 yards? Not very many, unless you have a very, 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 very good defense. We weren't on the show last week, so we didn't make picks. I picked Wisconsin to win this game, and it was largely in part because I thought Tanner Mordecai was going to be very good. And again, he wasn't able to play for very much of the game. He went out before halftime, but I think it's going to be funny if Iowa goes 9-3 and their OC gets fired, which is very possible because I mean Clemson did that last year, almost exactly. So, I think this game decided the West for the Big Ten. They decided who gets the pleasure of getting destroyed by Michigan. That's all this game decided.
So they're averaging like 10 points a game, or I think it's more than that now.
Here, let's see. We'll do some quick mental math on camera in front of everybody and be embarrassed by how bad it is. Let's see.
I think it was.
So they got 24. So
they're
that's 0
averaging-
against Penn State.
They're averaging about 15 points a game, actually.
That's not great.
No, it's not. I mean, they're averaging giving up that.
Oh, giving up.
Yeah, giving up that,
No, that's
yeah.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah, about 15 points a game. I'm not sure what they're averaging scoring a game.
About the same.
Yeah. Well, really, in the Big Ten, it is. I mean, they're it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so that's going to complete the recap of Week 6, and we're going to go into Week 7. And before we do, just want to remind you of the this is the College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Super Thanksgiving Day Feast, turkey and dressing, gravy, barbecue pork loin, fried chicken, chicken dumplings, green beans, lima beans, okra, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, fresh collard greens, sweet potato, baked sweet potato, rolls, cornbread, and then go to the dessert bar and get some really good banana pudding, chocolate delight, pumpkin spice cake, and ice cream. Well, we need to stop there and have dinner one night.
Let's do it.
So, you can also listen to us live at the XLSportsNetwork.net and check us out on the YouTube channel, XL Sports Network. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a comment. All right, well, Week 7 coming up. Big game. Penn State at Ohio State. Penn State at Ohio State. I think this may be the year right here, man. Ohio State, they're 4.5-point favorites. And let's get into that. What do you think about Penn State, Ohio State, Will?
I think we're in for a great game. That's what I think. So this is going to be a tough one to, I guess, predict. If I have to compare the two teams, I think Penn State has looked a little better all year long, just in my opinion. I don't know why they've been steadily ranked behind Ohio State. I mean, you give Ohio State credit for that win against Notre Dame, but Penn State's been doing almost exactly what Michigan's been doing.
Right.
I mean, they haven't played elite competition, but they're beating people down. You could argue Penn State has the best defense in the country. I mean, you could look at almost any defensive metric and back that up. I mean, they're giving up less than 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Two shutouts. Well, of course, one was UMass.
Doesn't shut out to one else also Iowa. I mean, it's shutout to shutout.
Exactly.
So I think we're gonna find out how Ohio State plays against a defense even better than Notre Dame. Because last time they played a really good defense, they only scored 17.
They almost lost the game.
They should have lost that game.
They should have lost that game. Yeah.
If Notre Dame has 11 men on the field, they may lose that game.
2 plays. Yeah, exactly.
No, but again, got to give Ohio State credit. I mean, last week against Purdue, first of all, they're glad they weren't ranked number 2 overall. Because people number 2 overall going into Purdue, they don't come out alive.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
It's tough to really get a good read on Ohio State because, I think they who was their week 1 opponent? Let me see really quickly. It was Indiana. So that Indiana game wasn't pretty. And then Youngstown State didn't start great. And then Western Kentucky, they looked like one of the best teams in the country.
First quarter, yeah.
And then a defensive slug.
Well, the first quarter, there was, I want to say that Western Kentucky, it was first quarter was only 7-3.
Well, but then right before halftime, they exploded. They scored 4 touchdowns.
They exploded in the second quarter, 35 points in the second quarter.
Yeah. And then that tough game against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And then that game against Maryland. It didn't look great for most of it.
Right. First half they didn't at all.
And then a good win against Purdue.
Yep. So,
so it's going to be tough. But again, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do like I did against USC. I'm gonna go bold. Not really one for half measures. I'm gonna take Penn State to win the game. What's it? You said it's 4.5 right now.
4.5, and Ohio State's the favorite.
So on a neutral field, they think it's a point and a half game. I think
on neutral field, I think they're yeah.
I think Penn State's going to win. I'll predict it right now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's fine. I think I don't know how healthy Ohio State's going to be on offense, and I think they're going to need to be very healthy to beat this Penn State team. I think Penn State's got a better defense, and their offenses are very different but equally productive. I think Penn State's a better rushing offense. So I'm going to roll with Penn State, and you know what? I'll be fun. I say Penn State wins by double digits on the road.
Wow, double digits.
Double digits. I mean, keep in mind, that is 10 points. 10 points is still double digits, but
Yeah. Wow.
no one likes boring predictions.
That's awesome.
What am I going to say? Ohio State's going to win by 4 points. No. I'm picking Penn State to win by 10.
I'm
or
gonna
more.
agree with you on the Penn State's gonna win. I think that James Franklin's gonna get it done this week.
I mean,
Or this year with them.
if there has ever been a team that's been pounding on the door, it's Penn State.
It
I mean,
is.
they looked good. They looked better for most of the game last year.
Let's face it, this year is the year for Penn State to put it together.
If they don't do it this year, they're not
Because
doing it.
Ohio State's arguably down.
Yes.
I mean,
not
it's not
arguably.
arguably. You can't really argue that. They're down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're undefeated, but they're down.
Compared to what they looked last year.
And so they got to go to the time where they got to go to Columbus is in a year where they're up. Penn State's
they look
up.
good.
They look really good, and I think they got the offensive line. I think they got an offensive line that's going to battle with the offensive line at Michigan. Of course, they don't see each other on the field, obviously, but as far as being the best offensive line in the Big Ten, if not the nation, I mean they got they can put.
I mean, I'll give it to Michigan in the Big Ten, but number 2, I think Penn State is.
Well,
I don't think it's close.
I was going to go forward with this. They're going to Columbus, being up, I think, and then Ohio State not being as up as they have been, and then they're going to play at home against Michigan. So
That's going to be a crazy game.
That's going. And it's kind of bad. It's a November game because that would be a whiteout game.
It's a noon kickoff now. But
yeah. You can't play noon. You can't play anything but noon games pretty much in the
Yeah.
Big Ten up there when you get into November.
I'll ask it to you like this. Aside from that first half against Northwestern, when Northwestern had negative yardage and was tied with them, when have you been worried about Penn State this year?
I'm not even worried at all about them.
How many times have you been worried about Ohio State?
About every other time they play. I mean, the Notre Dame game, Maryland. I thought they were going to lose. I thought Maryland was going to beat them. Maybe too. It was. I mean, I thought he was chunking around the field pretty good. That first quarter, Western Kentucky, and we know that Western Kentucky, Rupert Six is very good.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, these guys are playing with them in the first quarter. Then the second quarter came along and they just crushed them.
Yeah, I don't think you're scoring 28 points in less than 10 minutes on Penn State. That's not happening.
And then you got first game against Indiana. I mean, it's Indiana. We're not playing basketball. And it's 10-3 at halftime. You're thinking, wow, man, what's up here?
Well, I don't like making too much of Week 1 games, but that goes to show you, hey, they played a good run defense because for all of Indiana's faults, they do have a good run defense. Penn State's run defense is even better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Penn State's gonna win the game. Man, double digits. Whoo, man. That's a bold statement. Right
It sure is. And I'll wear it if I'm wrong.
There you go.
Fight me.
All right, so I'll pick Penn State to win the game.
All right.
So let's go next to. I want to leave this one.
Where are we going?
I want to leave this one for later.
All right.
Let's go down to. Here's one that's kind of odd to talk about. Toledo,
let's do
at
it.
Miami, Ohio.
Let's
Toledo
give some love to the group of
the
five.
Rock-
Get some action.
Right. Let's get some MAC. Yeah, the MAC is crazy. I think one of the best leagues in the country is the MAC.
It's the team the league with the most parity for
Yeah.
sure.
So Toledo, the Rockets are on the road at Miami, Ohio. They're 1-point favorite. Go ahead, I'll give it to you.
All right. Full disclosure, I have not prepped for this, so I'm looking at it right now cold. Let's see. Okay, so I know Toledo has a great offense. Last week, notwithstanding, when they were in a knockdown dragout with Ball State. That one was what we were looking at. It was 3-3 for the longest. I think in the third quarter.
What in the world?
And then they tied up again 6-6, I believe, at some point. And then that go-ahead touchdown with it was a minute and a half left in the game. They scored a touchdown and ended up winning it. But again, like we said, the MAC is the most unpredictable conference that exists.
Yep.
Like we said, I think Toledo has a better better offense. Their defense isn't great, and Miami of Ohio does have a good defense. Ooh, this is a tough one. Miami also is at home. Toledo did just play on the road at Ball State. Muncie, we know that's a tough place to play in Muncie. I think it's going to be a good game. Coming on at 4 o'clock. There's going to be better games on, so I probably won't watch very much of it. But let's see. Again, I've been having fun today, making picks that are a little crazy. I like going matchups though, like strength on strength, to see who matches up well.
Well, while you're thinking about this, I want to throw this out there. So I think the difference maker in this game is going to be Penny Boone, running back. Got almost 800 yards rushing. He's averaging about 7.5 yards a rush. He's got 107 carries for 792 yards, and I think he's going to be. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns in the season. I think that's going to be the difference maker in the game. If you go and look at Miami, their rush defense is 58th in the country. I think, is that right? Yards allowed, they're 34th in the country. So I just think that I think Penny Boone is going to be the difference maker of the game.
Obviously, time will tell.
I'm gonna pick Toledo, and I'm gonna pick him obviously to cover since it's a 1 point spread.
I'm gonna roll with the upset.
You gonna pick Miami?
I'm picking the Red Hawks to win the game.
Okay.
So like I said, last week we saw Toledo struggle on the road, and they're on the road again. And if you look at the last 2 games Miami's played at home, they looked good. I mean, they didn't give up a single point to Bowling Green, and that's fresh off a Bowling Green team that beat Georgia Tech, I believe. And then they beat up on Delaware State. Yes, I know it's Delaware State, but it's also the MAC. So.
Isn't that the Blue Hens?
No, that is Delaware. Delaware State, I believe, is the Hornets.
Okay.
Miami, Ohio also did go on the road and beat Cincinnati in overtime. That doesn't look like as an impressive win now, but because Cincinnati's just falling apart. Yeah. But their last 2 MAC games, Toledo has won by a combined 9 points. I think it's hard to win a lot of games, especially like we said in an unpredictable conference like the MAC. But I think I'm gonna take the Red Hawks, but I'm gonna take it in a close game. Maybe a 1-2 point game. But
okay. Let's go to Wazoo at Oregon. Oregon is a 19-point favorite. Is Cam Morgan get back on track this week?
If there's a team to do it against, it's not Oregon. I mean, so Michael Penix has looked like Superman all year long. He completed less than 60% of his passes and threw a pick against them.
Yeah.
And Wazoo's defense hasn't been great. They just scored 6 points at home against Arizona. Wazoo's one of my teams, like you talked about, but
yeah.
I don't know that I can pick them to win. They
look 19 points.
I don't know about that either. I mean, they look bad. They look bad against UCLA, and Oregon's defense is so much better than UCLA's.
Yeah, UCLA's got a good defense, but
they do. But Oregon's is forget tops in the Pac-12. They're one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just lost to another top 10 team. Oregon did. And Wazoo has trouble running the ball, and Oregon doesn't give up rushing yards, period. Man. You go ahead and tell me what you think, and then tell me how you think
Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon's going to win and cover the spread easily. That's what
cover by, okay, where I'm looking at moved it to 20 now, so that's fun.
Oh, okay. I'm just going on the 19, but still, even at 20, I would still pick it.
Okay. You want cogent analysis, or you want the fun pick?
Go ahead and get the fun pick.
Fun pick? No, I can't do that. I don't believe it. I'll just be saying words to say them. Yeah, I obviously was going to say Washington State will win for the fun pick. No, but just looking at it, I mean, like I said, having the rough game last week against Arizona at home, Oregon's coming back to their house, arguably a little mad, saying, man, we let one get away, and knowing that they have no room for error left. If you thought Dan Lanning was aggressive last week, he's going to come out firing this week too. I'm going to pick Oregon. I'm going to pick Oregon to win. But I think Wazoo beats the spread. I don't think they lose by more than 20.
It's almost unfair that Wazoo has to play Oregon after the Washington game, because I think you're right. Dan Lanning's going to be like, all right, guys, this is going to be crazy.
I mean, I see a world where Washington State wins. I mean, it's not I don't think that's crazy, and I mean, I think people are going to think I'm crazy for saying that. I see a game where they win that because I mean they've had high highs and kind of low lows, but just like I said, thinking of it rationally, I think Oregon wins that game, but I do think Wazoo beats the spread.
Okay. All right, next let's go to USC. USC is a 5.5 point favorite over Utah. For me, man, that's some interesting numbers right there. They're playing at USC. I think USC is going to get it straightened back out this week. I don't think they're going to light the world on fire, especially defensively. But I think they will cover the spread. So I won't pick USC to win the game, cover the spread. What you got?
Who's got a better defense, Cal or USC?
I don't know. But probably Cal.
Cal's a better defense?
Probably.
And Utah put up 34 on them? Okay, so Utah just last week ran the ball for over 300 yards, which is
that's the
and USC can't run the football,
right,
or can't stop the run rather.
Can't stop it, yeah.
And I mean, if I see this is a trick question, you almost got me. If I predicted USC to go finish 7-5, I can't pick them to win this game, right? It's kind of a trick.
I know, right?
I'm hoping Utah got some things figured out, and maybe what they figured out was, hey, let's just run the football. Because I'm pretty sure they made a quarterback change and brought Bryson Barnes back in to start. But, I mean, if there's a team to get right against on the offensive side, it's USC. So, you know what? I think Kyle Whittingham has USC's number. And I do not think that defense is going to be able to stop even an anemic offense like Utah. So I'm going to pick Utah to win. And obviously they'll cover if they win. So I'm going to pick Utah to win that game.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, I said the best case scenario for USC was 9-3.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so a couple more, and then we'll get out of here. Duke at Florida State.
Oh, Blue Devils, baby.
You going to pick the Blue
Another
Devils?
one of my teams.
Florida State is a 14-point favorite at home.
Yep, sure are.
That was when I started taking notes. Let me go back and see if that's the case right now.
Oh, it is. It's still 14.
Still 14. Okay,
Yep.
so let's stick to the 14-point favorite. I'm gonna pick the Seminoles. I think they're gonna cover the spread. They're gonna win the game, cover the spread.
I'm doing a little research real quick to see if Riley Leonard's going to play because I know he's been injured.
Don't know if he is not.
Let's see. I can't find anything if they've updated it yet, and I mean that's probably smart by them not releasing anything yet.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of a look at this game earlier. I think 14's way too much. I think that's way disrespectful to Duke. Duke has proven they're a good team. I mean, they've lost one game, and that was by 7 points to Notre Dame. In a game they definitely could have won. I don't know why Florida State is a 14-point favorite. I don't think they look 14 points better than Duke. I think Florida State has been one of the most inconsistent top 5 teams that exists. Because, I mean, you know, they play Boston College how they did. I say it and I stand by it. I'll die on this hill. They got outplayed by Clemson. It's that scoop and score that got them to win that one. Yeah. They looked pedestrian for stretches of that Virginia Tech game. I mean, at one point, Virginia Tech got it back to 5, and then, you know, Florida State did their thing. The Florida State just does not look like a world beater to me. And, I mean, we saw what happened when they played a great defense in Clemson. Clemson only gave up 17 points in regulation. Their defense did. And again, I'm on a roll. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna pick Duke to win the game.
Wow.
I mean, their defense is really good by any metric and anything you look at. Their defense is really good. Without Riley Leonard, they beat North Carolina State 24-3. I know that doesn't mean very much, but they still did it. And that was with their backup quarterback completing 4 passes for 107 yards. So if they get Riley Leonard in there, I think they'll definitely win. Even if he is a little bit compromised, he's going to do better than 4 completions for 107 yards. So I'm rolling with my Blue Devils. I think they're going to win the game. Go into Tallahassee at Doak Campbell and win the game.
Well, I think Riley Leonard's a lot like Cam Rising. His game is dual threat. He opens up his passing game with his legs. You know, you gotta count for him. You gotta put a spot on that guy. and that's going to open up another potentially if you're running the zone, another soft spot in the zone, and you can pick your part that way. And with an ankle injury, only 3 weeks ago, having to have ankle surgery as an athlete too myself, man, it's tough. It's tough to.
I don't think he had surgery. I think it was just a sprain.
But what I'm saying though is having an ankle injury, know what it feels like, and knowing how it takes a while to overcome those injuries. Now, I don't know how severe his was, but I'm not saying he won't play. But if he does, I don't think he's going to be as effective as he would be if he didn't have any injury. So I'm gonna say that if he does play, he's going to be limited in his mobility, which is going to reduce his effectiveness that he would otherwise have. 14 points is a lot, man. Ooh, that's a lot.
Disrespectful.
You playing at Doak Campbell, and Florida State's been on a roll. I still haven't seen Florida State play a full game yet. I've not seen them play a full game.
I think Syracuse is the closest thing we've seen, and they played really good.
Still didn't play a full game. I didn't think. I thought there was some spots out there they could have done better, but I think this week is the week they're going to get it done. I think they will play a full game this week, and I'm going to pick Florida State to win the game. I'm going to pick Florida State to cover.
Yeah, my biggest belief in Duke is that defense. Call me crazy. I think they have I'd say a top 10 guaranteed, maybe a top 5 defense in the country. Or like Mike Elko and what he does. So, like I said, picking Duke on the upset too. I'm just going upsets all the way this week.
Okay. All right. So we're out of time, but we're going to go into overtime now. We just completed the final drive, I guess you could say, and now we're going to go into overtime, and we're going to talk about one last game in overtime. I
wonder what game that's going to be.
Going to be one of the best games of the week, if not the best.
Maybe.
Well, I think Penn State Ohio State is probably going to be the best game of the week. Florida State and Duke might be pretty close, but last game we're going to talk about, Tennessee on the road at Alabama.
Nice.
Bama is a 9.5-point favorite. We talked a little bit about this game on the way in. I'm gonna pick Tennessee to at least cover that. I don't think Alabama's gonna win by 9.5. I think Tennessee might be able to pull the victory out in Tuscaloosa, but if nothing else, they will cover that. They will beat that spread. I think the Tennessee defense is a lot better than Arkansas's defense. I think that Tennessee can score a lot more points than Arkansas did. If what's that guy's name up there, Joe Milton? If he can throw the ball, a mile, but it seems like sometimes his accuracy is not so good. But I think this week may be the week that he puts it together. Hadn't put it together all year yet. So. But what do you say?
I didn't hear an outright pick there from you. I heard a lot of
All right, I'll
him
pick
and Holland there.
The outright pick. I'll pick Tennessee to win by field goal.
Wow, picking Tennessee to win by
Again,
just like last year.
Again
just
by field
like
goal.
last year.
Just like last year.
Okay, so who do you think has a better defense?
Walk-off safety.
A walk-off safety. That sounds like an Iowa
to win by one.
That sounds like an Iowa Hawkeyes finish right there. Who's got a better defense, A&M or Alabama? Or are they about the same?
Better defense, A&M and Alabama?
Yeah.
I think Alabama's got a better defense.
Okay, A&M held Tennessee to 13 points on defense in their own house. The difference in that game was a punt return for a kickoff or for a touchdown.
Okay.
A&M held them to 13, and you said Alabama's got a better defense and they're at home.
All right, keep going.
I think Alabama's going to win, and it may not be close.
Really? I think so. It's going to be definitely revenge for them.
How many road games has Tennessee played this year?
Tennessee has been on the road against Florida and got crushed. And this is it. This is the second one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whew. Our sample size is 1, and they looked like hot garbage.
Yeah,
that's an insult to hot garbage, really.
And guess what? They get to go to Kroger Field next week and play a mad Wildcat.
Tough
Kentucky
games
Wildcat
back
team.
to back. Again, last week, the mighty Joe Milton, 11 for 22, 50%, with exactly 100 passing yards, and one touchdown, 1 pick. If he plays like that against Alabama, they lose. They're going to lose. The thing that kept them alive in this A&M game was they were able to run the ball against A&M, which is shocking to me. They had 232 yards on the ground. Insane. insane.
And Alabama can only muster 23 yards on the ground against A&M.
But again, it's not all just easy
It's
like
not,
that.
yeah.
I think for the past whatever it's been, 360 whatever days, I think Nick Saban has had this game circled.
Yeah, probably.
You know,
he don't
you-
have
you
Bryce.
don't-
He don't have Bryce Young there to bail him out. Go ahead.
You don't have a team beat you and then have that team go throw their own goalposts in the river and that not affect you.
Yeah.
Again, I think Alabama's going to win this game, and I'm not predicting a blowout, but it might not be close. This game may be over at halftime.
You're not going to make me change my mind, pal. I'm picking Tennessee, and that's it.
Go for it. Tennessee
East is better than the West this year.
We'll see. They beat Ole Miss, then they beat Mississippi State, then they beat A&M, then they beat Arkansas. Granted, they did not look great in that Arkansas game, but the other three games they played pretty well. Let's just say Jalen Milroe has half the game he had against A&M. Let's say he has the game he had last week against Arkansas. I think they're going to win that ball game. And that may be a closer game, but I think they'll win it. So, in case you didn't know, I'm picking Alabama, and again, they may blow them out. We'll see. I don't think Tennessee's a very good football team. I don't think Alabama's elite, but I definitely don't think Tennessee's very good. And I think they're going to get. I think they're going to get beat down pretty bad. If you look at the stats, okay, Joe Milton has 1,264 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks. Jalen Milroe, the guy who can't throw the ball, more passing yards, 1,397, 11 touchdowns, more touchdowns, same amount of picks. So, when a guy that everybody's calling a running back is outplaying your quarterback, I'm not picking you to win. Not happening.
So the cool thing about this sport is you just don't ever know. You just don't ever know.
Never know.
You think that you know everything and you can do all the research you want, and it turns out that you're just as dumb as the next guy when it comes down to it. Well, that's going to do it this week for the College Football Job at 5 on the XL Sports Network. Again, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hogsville. We came to you today, not live today. We're videotaped today, so we'll plan on being live again next Thursday. The 24th will be. I'm sorry, no. Next Thursday will be the 26th. We plan on being live on the 26th, but this one is recorded on Tuesday afternoon. So for Will, for Ken on the boards here, I'm Chuck saying so long from the XL Sports Network. Have a good day.